So alphabetically, Mr. James Perry, you'll be first, opening statement. You have 2 minutes.
My name is Jim Curry, and I am running for Secretary of State for a very specific reason. I want to do something. I'm going to tell you exactly what I want to do. When somebody runs for political office, it's basically they're trying to get a new job. How many people in here have ever had a new job where you had to go through a job interview? What I want to do on the Secretary of State's website is add a new tab. And what it would allow is any registered voter, you have to be a registered voter and able to vote for or against the candidate. You could ask a question, so you would be in writing. Everybody would see the question, and the candidate does not have to answer. But if they don't answer, everybody can see the question asked, and then they make a decision. Hey, this person didn't answer this question. If you ask the same question of everybody, you could compare and contrast their answers against each other. Wouldn't it be wonderful if you voted not as a R or a D, but because somebody gave you answers to your questions that you thought were really good? How are campaigns run now? Well, unfortunately, too often they throw mud at their opponent, trying to get you to vote against somebody instead of voting for them. They avoid answering direct questions. How many times have you seen a debate where somebody gets asked a question and they pivot to some canned talking point and don't answer the question asked? They talk in broad platitudes. I want to cut waste. It sounds great. My question would be, what do you consider to be waste? Tell me what you consider to be waste. Then I would vote in form. I can tell you this, young people love this. How many times have you ever seen a young person under 35 without this in their hand? They could be, you wouldn't have to drive to a place, sit and listen to somebody else ask questions and then listen to oral answers. When you leave here, try to remember which one of us said what. I guarantee you, you're going to get confused and you're not going to remember who said what. If it's in writing, it's going to be archived and it'll be there for future reference as well. Thank you very much.
All right, Senator Manning, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Hello. All right. I want to make sure that you're out there. My name is James Ivory Manning Jr. I am the current Senate President Pro Tem, second consecutive term as Senate President Pro Tem. I've been in the Oregon State Senate for 8 years. One of my signature landmark bills is a universal health care, single payer, coming soon. I estimate within 5 years, Oregon will be the first state in the nation to have a single payer healthcare system. I worked on it for 7 years, and I am honored that you got it to the place where it is now. Democracy is under attack, as we know. There are attempts across America to make voting harder for some people. With the removal of ballot boxes and even how you get to a location, you know, it's a crime in some states to even give water to people who stand out in the sun for a long time waiting to cast their ballot. Well, here in Oregon, we have vote by mail. A few cycles ago, I introduced a bill that is being used right now that has increased voter turnout. It is a ballot, postage paid ballot return envelope. It is working, and Oregon has proven to be the top participation as far as voting in the nation. I will protect vote by mail. I will look for ways to expand vote by mail. But here's one thing I didn't know is that there is a lack of standards. All 36 elections offices operate a little different. My plan to do is to establish a standard for all statewide elections offices, because when you have someone move from one office to another and that person leaves, we're dealing with tribal knowledge, and that knowledge is gone. So one of the things I plan to do, I'm excited about this race. I'm excited about getting my word out. And I see the page sheet coming up.
We'll pass the mic during the question.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Thanks, everyone. I'm Tobias Reed. I am State Treasurer, and I am excited to be in front of all of you to talk about a race that is really important and an office that is really important. You've already heard about the role the Secretary of State has in elections, and I think that is worth talking about. I think we'll do plenty of that today. There are a lot of reasons to be concerned, just the misinformation, the threats, the policies that are being passed around the country that make it harder for people to vote. We have a lot of good things to be proud of in Oregon. We were the first state to make voting by mail the norm. We just passed the 25th anniversary of that. But we have a lot of things to do to make sure that we are not a further threat. But that's not the only thing that the Secretary of State's office does. Secretary of State is the auditor for Oregon. I'm sure we'll talk about that as well. And I think it's essential that we have an audit plan that is based on risk assessments, not on a predetermined political agenda. Secretary of State's office is also where every business in Oregon registers. We have an opportunity to make that easier for the next generation of entrepreneurs and existing businesses to continue to succeed. So this is a big, important office with a lot of essential responsibilities. And I think right now it is really important to have someone who has relevant experience in that office. Having served as state treasurer for more than 7 years now, I'm really proud of the record that we've built in the Treasury, caring for the pension of more than 400,000 people, establishing new programs that make it easier for people to save for college, for retirement, turning complicated concepts into results that people can really feel in their daily lives. That's what I've learned as state treasurer, how to set an agenda and vision for an agency that's responsibilities that can't be missed. That's the approach that I want to bring to the Secretary of State's office. And I'm excited to have the conversation with all of you today. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Ms. Christopher, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement.
You're muted.
Can you hear me now? I assume you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Dave Stauffer. I'm a candidate for the Secretary of State's office. And the Secretary of State is also the chair of the Board of Sustainability and Environment for the state of Oregon. And that's my strong point, is that I have 5 environmental inventions that can do a great deal of good for the state of Oregon. And that's why I want to have the Secretary of State's Sustainability Board working on those inventions. My first invention is a way to get water to every place in Oregon that needs it. The general idea is there's a bunch of good, clean water flowing down the Columbia River down to the Pacific Ocean. And my idea is to get pipelines that go down the bottom of the Columbia River all the way to Astoria. And then at Astoria, they do one of 2 things. They turn around and go back up the river to Eastern Oregon, or they head down the coast to the Rogue River and the Klamath River, and then they go up the bottom of the Klamath River and get water to farms and ranches and other places, and would provide a help for the wildfires and for the droughts that we've had, particularly on the Klamath River. The lower Klamath River is being deprived of water because they need water for the salmon to run up the lower Columbia Basin. And my plan would get plenty of water to the top of the lower Klamath Basin, and then those people at the upper Klamath Basin would be able to utilize their dams or build new dams to keep the water up there.
You're at time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll pass this mic around, for our Q&A here, and, Senator Manning will begin with you for this question. Please let me know if anyone needs me to repeat the question as we move down the line here. What measures will you take to address cybersecurity threats to Oregon's electoral systems and government infrastructure?
Thank you. The Office of the Secretary of State also has responsibility or has a division that deals with IT or cybersecurity. I think that one of the things that we have to do, and I have been a part of in the legislature, is get the legislature involved with this, because this is going to cause some funding. It's not just a issue that's dealing with the Secretary of State's office. It is a statewide issue, cybersecurity, and I think that under the Secretary of State's IT, it's a great place to start. I've already asked for $5 to $10 million to enhance security features and upgrades to not only cybersecurity at the Secretary of State's office, but around all 36 elections offices. I think that that's really important. Included in that $5 to $10 million I've asked for, I also want to enhance training and protective clothing and equipment that the workers and volunteers need. We know that election workers are now leaving because of threats and intimidation. And if they are successful, those ones that want to roll back the clock, that will damage our system and take away our democracy. Under my watch, that will not happen. Thank you.
Thanks. This is a really important question, and one I think is relevant to the experience we've had at Treasury as well. Think about the top targets for cybercrime and cybersecurity threats. One category is government, one category is financial institutions. Treasury is both. So we have a fair bit of experience in this. And I think it's unreasonable to make any promises to anyone that it won't happen, because you can't guarantee that. What you can guarantee is making smart decisions and investments in capacity to guard against that possibility. That's what we've done at Treasury with the support of the legislature, based on their understanding and their confidence in the approach that we take. The governor, the Secretary of State, and the Treasurer are the three constitutional offices, and having that independence is important. So have the agility and nimbleness to act quickly, separate from some of the other more slow acting processes. So I'm looking forward to taking the lessons from the Treasury and teams that we have built, particularly around cybersecurity, and applying them to another very important responsibility the Secretary of State's has.
Mr. Stauffer, same question to you.
The Secretary of State's office already has good cybersecurity experts, and you never can tell what's going to come up, who's going to invent a new loophole in our security, and that's why you have to monitor it. And I would make sure that our cybersecurity experts were continuing to monitor it so that they can catch any leaks quickly. Another very important part is that no election worker should feel unsafe. No election worker should refuse to show up and do the job because they're afraid of what might happen to them. As the Secretary of State, I would ensure that every election office in every county has good security. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stauffer. Mr. Curry.
Cybersecurity is huge. There are a lot of both domestic and non-domestic people who would love to throw a wrench into the works of government. And so one of the things that the Secretary of State does is audit. And one of the top audits for me would be when you audit somebody, make sure that their website and the cybersecurity is there. You're right, you cannot absolutely guarantee that a hack won't happen, but you can harden against a hack and hopefully deter most people. But there are going to be people that get in, so you've got to be aware of that. Anyway, that's it. It's a very important area. What do we do that doesn't go through the internet almost? And it's so important for government, and it's also important for us as people, individuals. Thank you.
Right, Treasurer Reed, we'll start with you for this question. As Secretary of State, how will you work to support small businesses and entrepreneurs in Oregon?
Thank you. This is a place that I think is really underappreciated in the Secretary of State's office. There is an Office of Small Business Assistance. And as I mentioned earlier, every business in Oregon registers with the Secretary of State's office. In the conversations that I've had with businesses around the state, one really interesting theme has emerged. I think most businesses, most people would agree that a business person is more interested in running their business than in chasing information about new regulations and new policies from all the different parts of state and local government. So the Secretary of State's office, I think, can play an important role in being a single point of contact for those businesses, making sure that they have the information they need in order to comply with laws and rules and be up to date as things change. That's a place I think that we can start. And the processes that exist now can certainly be made better. What if we had an automated system that allowed people to fill in things that changed when they have to re-register rather than starting again every year?
Thank you. Mr. Stopper, same question to you.
As the chair of the Board of Sustainability and Environment, I would make a lot of changes so that all those small businesses have clean air to breathe and they have plentiful water for whatever purposes their business has for water. My 5 environmental inventions will create tremendous employment, and that will help small businesses that need work. And I intend to get these environmental inventions implemented throughout Oregon. There's also another environmental invention that I have that will make it easier to heat and air condition your houses without using fossil fuels. And that can apply to small businesses too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stopper. Mr. Perry.
One of the things I hate to hear when I ask somebody why is it done this way is, hey, but we've always done it this way. That irritates me beyond belief because there had to be a first time that you did it the way you're doing it today. I don't have any specific answers to the question, but I do have this. I've got an outsider's perspective that has an ask probing question and say, why are we doing it this way? Is there a better way to do it? Let's look at something that's done differently. And with the goal in mind of making it easier for the small business person to actually do business with the state. Thank you.
I served 24 years active United States Army. And one of the assignments I wrote a policy called home-based businesses. When I was overseas in Panama, this is because family members couldn't get jobs. So that policy signed by Command General gave an opportunity for family members that had skills and perform certain tasks in order to get a job and get some kind of income to the family. Small businesses are the lifeblood of our economy. I've been working with small businesses, particularly minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. That is a huge function. In the corporate division of the Secretary of State's office, that is really important that there's a lot of oversight, making sure that we are protecting small businesses and giving small businesses a chance to expand as appropriate. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Stopper, we'll begin with you for this first question.
How do you plan to ensure fair and accessible elections for all Oregonians?
Say that again. How would I ensure fair and equitable elections for all
Fair and
Oregonians?
accessible elections for all Oregonians.
I'm proud to say that Oregon already has a good system for fair and equitable elections. We have vote by mail, which has been very successful, been very reliable. We haven't had the problems that they've had back east in Georgia and those other places where they have to have a recount. So I think what I would do is continue doing what we have been doing. It's been very successful.
Thank you, Mr. Curry.
Fair and equitable elections have a website where any registered voter can ask a question of any or all of the candidates and compare and contrast their answers. You're going to educate, you're going to empower, and you're going to engage, especially young people. One of the times I tried to do this was over in Klamath Falls with the League of Women Voters. And we went to 2 high schools and we told them about this idea. You could not believe how excited those young people were. Let's get more people voting, and let's get more people voting engaged and educated so they make the right decision. Thank you.
Could you repeat that one more time?
Yes, how do you plan to ensure fair and accessible elections for all Oregonians?
Certainly not by rolling back the clock. We're not going to do that. It was a bill that was introduced or was going to be introduced to have Oregonians stand in line and cast their ballot at a polling place. That bill never saw the light of day. So currently we have a robust system, both by mail, my bill for the ballot postage paid, return envelope help increase, with, voter turnout. Last session, I introduced a bill that will allow first-time university and college students who don't have a driver's license or a state ID card, upon enrollment in school, they will automatically be registered voters. We did that with motor voter. We also did it with access to the, when you file for the Oregon Health Plan, and now trying to move forward so that we get more Oregonians engaged. I think that's what's really important. Now, we have a great system.
I think it's an excellent question, and I appreciate the way it's asked, because I think as much as we can be proud of the things that we've done in Oregon, the perception amongst people is sometimes lagging. And part of the danger that we face with our democracy is when people are skeptical. So every time we can have people create positive experiences for people, when they feel good about their voting experience, they're more likely to continue and more likely to be a defender of those processes. So one of the most fun things about the campaign for me so far has been the chance to meet with many of our county clerks. I think we're about 24, 25, and 36, and they sound different. They're different counties with different challenges, and hearing the different ideas that come from them have been really helpful. Making it easier for people to understand where their ballot is in the process, automated notifications when a ballot is mailed, when it's returned, when it's accepted, those things matter. Making it easier for people to change their party registration so they can vote as they wish. Ballot drop center or voting centers to make it easier for people to get to their county offices across the state. All possible ideas.
Okay, Mr. Curry, we'll begin with you for this question. As a member of the State Land Board, how will you balance resourcing K-12 education through the Common School Fund with managing and preserving our state's natural resources?
I'm on the Pioneer School Board right now, so I know about school boards a little bit. To me, we're gonna have to generate more revenue. Here's one thing that I thought about. There's gotta be some scrub land that we have, and I would love to put solar panels on the scrub land. And the power that gets generated by those solar panels would be used to offset the electrical bill for all public schools in Oregon and the universities, public universities. All of a sudden, these school districts would have some extra money that they could then hire extra teachers, reduce class size, give a pay raise to some teachers. There's a lot of things that you can use money for, and I'd like to give more money to the school boards.
What we need are public resources, our waterways, our land, and our forests are not for sale. First thing, I am endorsed by the Sierra Club because of my stance on environment and climate change issues. So how do we balance that out? From my perspective, there's always room for a conversation. I can't sit here right now and say that this will be the solution on how we do that or not. My door is open to everyone. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your ideas. Because obviously, there's always room for improvement. And my stance again is that I will not sell our waterways, forests, or any of our public lands for profit at no time. Thank you.
I appreciate this question too, because I've been on the land board for the last 7 years, and I think the best answer to a question like this is to look at a person's record. And I'm really proud of the record that I have. The role I played in helping to solve one of the oldest problems in Oregon, the Elliott State Forest, which was a drag on the Common School Fund because of the unique circumstances it was in. We developed a plan that has transformed the Elliott into the largest research forest in North America. We made good on our obligation to the Common School Fund and the school children and students of Oregon, and have created a place where that forest can be managed now as a forest, where it can be a internationally known destination for researchers, so we can create the mechanisms to practice sustainable forestry, contribute to our economy, and be a pioneer when it comes to carbon research. That's the kind of approach that I've taken in my 7 years on the land board, and it's exactly what I would continue to do as Secretary of State.
Thank you. Mr. Stoffer, same question to you.
Yes, actually, I'd like to compliment Tobias Reed on what he has done with the land board. I think his reasoning is very sound, and I appreciate that. Even though he's my competition here, I give credit where credit is due. Another thing that you might not realize is that we just had a big kicker this year. And the reason for that is that we got more tax revenue in than we had budgeted. And I think that's going to be a trend here for the immediate future because Oregon has real low unemployment. That means a lot of people are working and there's more coming in. Intel just got a $7 billion new plant going, and there's going to be a lot of employment in Oregon, a lot of people making money and paying taxes on money, and there's going to be more money that the legislature can send out to education. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take a pause before the next question and just have our board members raise your hands one more time. If anyone has a written question, please pass that over to one of them. Has anyone received a question yet? Okay, we'll move on. Senator Manning, this next question will start with you. How will you address concerns about the accuracy and reliability of state-run databases and records?
Thank you. As I mentioned previously, I served 24 years active duty United States Army. One of my assignments was as a United States Army Assistant Inspector General. I did audit nationally and internationally, and I was very good. I received commendations for the work that I did. The audit office or division of the Secretary of State's office is vitally important. Not only will it reveal what's working well and how to improve upon it, but it will also uncover those things that are not working well. You do that first by understanding the people that are working in the Secretary of State's office. First thing I would do is conduct a sensing session because the people that are working there are the ones that's actually executing all of the programs. This is really important because knowing where your workers are is a foundation of the organization, and oftentimes you miss that if you don't conduct audits properly. So I use a tool of audits in order to answer the question that you have.
Treasurer Reed.
Thanks. Well, I think having accurate information is obviously essential to making good decisions, and that is certainly relevant to the Treasury, where we're managing $140 billion in pension funds. We're tracking $12 billion of state debt, where we're tracking hundreds of thousands of retirements and college savings accounts. So understanding the processes and the systems that have led to where we are is a good place to start. And assessing the risks will allow us to develop the plans to address any shortcomings.
Mr. Stoffer, same question to you.
Databases are very important, and We have good databases in Oregon, and we all know the kind of things that you have to do to make sure that nobody steals data from the databases. That involves how you sign in whenever you enter the database, and how information gets out from the database. And there again, it goes back to auditing and making sure that our cybersecurity is up to date. I was an auditor for 4 years, and I, I know a lot about how to how to uh, access databases and how to prevent them from being accessed by people who should not have access. Thank you.
Mr. Kerr?
I don't have an answer to that, and I'll tell you why, because I haven't thought about it. And I'm given 60 seconds to come up with something, and I'm not gonna do it, but I am gonna make a comment. If you had asked me that question on my website, on the new tab, I would be able to think about it, I would be able to research it, and I'd be able to give you a pretty good answer. And that's another benefit to the idea that I have about this website where any registered voter could ask questions, because it's gonna allow candidates to actually think about their answers and give you a good answer that you can take home and say, yeah, that's a good idea, or you could ask a follow-up question. It just, that question to me just kind of demonstrates the weakness of this kind of and I'm happy to be here, don't get me wrong, but it demonstrates the weakness of this kind of a forum where you're given 60 seconds to answer questions that don't really lend themselves to such a short answer. Thank you.
All right, Treasurer Reed, we'll start with you for this next question. Please describe your experience running a large organization with regulatory and audit responsibilities.
I'd like to introduce you to the Oregon State Treasury. We have hundreds of employees. We manage hundreds of billions of dollars. We interact with hundreds of thousands of Oregonians and people across the world because of the way we invest dollars. These are important responsibilities because people depend on them. We send about $450 million in cash every month to recipients throughout Oregon, the dollars that they rely on to buy groceries and pay rent. So there's a no-fail mission here. And I've been thinking a lot about what Treasury is going to be like when I leave at the end of this year. And we've been spending a lot of time thinking about how we can prepare Treasury for the next treasurer. So my commitment is to try to make this a better place when I leave than when I got there. I feel really confident about that. Part of that is the culture, the vision, the accountability, and the expectations that we've set up. That's what I'm looking forward to doing in the Secretary of State's office as well.
Mr. Stolberton, question to you.
My biggest auditing and managing experience was when I was the business manager of the North Slope Borough School District in Barrow, Alaska. Barrow, Alaska is as far north as you can go in Alaska. I went up there and did their accounting for 4 years in the Arctic through the totally dark winter months and the 24-hour day sunlight of the summer months. And I put together an accounting and financial system that worked very well for them. And we got it up and running, and an auditing firm, Maine LaFrance, gave us a clean audit opinion on it. So I've had experience in managing accounting and financial data and putting together organizations that succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kerr.
The last 17 years that I was working, I worked for BP the oil and gas company, and I did contracts for them. And I wrote, negotiated, and did that kind of thing. The last 7 years I was with BP, I was a supervisor of people that were writing the contracts. It's not in the same league as running a huge organization, but it's still supervising. And there are gonna be career people that are doing these jobs, and my job will be to oversee them. And I do have experience in that, and I've learned to, go to the people, and I wanna hear what they have to say. They're the ones that are doing the jobs. And I'll bring an outsider's perspective and I can ask probing questions, but they're gonna be the ones doing the job, and I can oversee what they're doing. Thank you.
You do the question one more time, please.
Yes, please describe your experience with running a large organization with regulatory and audit responsibility.
Thank you. As I previously mentioned, when I was active duty United States Army, as an assistant U.S. Army Inspector General, I was in charge with auditing and supervising over 100,000 active duty service members and their families overseas in the Southern Command. I've got a lot of experience in that area, and I am certified as an expert in that area. So this is nothing unusual for me because of the years of experience I've had in there. I will say this, the audit itself is a useful tool, as I mentioned before. Not only will it reveal what's going on and what needs to be improved upon, but it can also highlight those things that is going well and how we can improve upon those things as well.
Thank you. Mr. Stoffer, we'll start with you for this next question. What role do you see the Secretary of State playing in promoting civic education and engagement amongst Oregon's youth?
I think the Secretary of State naturally audits every program that the governor runs, every state program. And through the audits, the Secretary of State finds problems with the governor's programs, if there are any problems, and makes sure that the money is spent well for what it's supposed to be spent for, and that it's not underspent. That is, if you get millions of dollars dedicated to a program, you better spend that $1 million for that program. So that's what I would do for the students of Oregon. Thank you.
Mr. Curry?
Keep going back to my idea. I call my idea an electronic candidate forum. Here's what I'll do to engage youth. I will say to every high school in this state, I'm available. I would love to come and talk to your students about the electronic candidate forum and how they can use it, why they should use it, what it'll do for them. That's how I'm going to engage our youth, by actually going out. That'll be one of my high priorities, is to go to the high schools, meet with the young people and talk with them about this. We did that over in Klamath Falls. Our reception was off the charts, incredible, and I would love to continue that. Thanks.
What role do you see the Secretary of State playing in promoting civic education and engagement among Oregon youth?
Thank you. Outreach, this is something I'm already doing. I go and visit all of the schools in my district. I speak with a number of universities. As a matter of fact, I did one recently, and I have a couple more planned that's coming up soon. You have to educate. There's so much mis and disinformation out there. We passed a bill to put civics back in the classroom, to make sure that we are fully funded CTE programs, arts and theaters, those things that students need for a well-rounded education. So direct engagement is something that I'm used to doing, and I still do now. And I'm looking forward to doing more of that, because when you can go out and talk directly with students, whether they're elementary, high school, or college, I think that stands a lot for a person. And that's what I am. That's what I've been doing. Thank you.
Well, as long as I'm state treasurer, I get to say that I'm the chief investment officer for the state. So this is one of the best investments I think we can make in helping people get in the habit of participating civically. There are two specific roles the Secretary of State already has in this regard. One is a program that Secretary of State Dennis Richardson started on the Kid Governor program that engages fifth graders around the state in a mock election, including an administration for a year of the person who is elected. And I think that is a great start. We can continue to build on that. The Secretary of State also, like the state treasurer, is a non-voting member of the State Board of Education, where have the responsibility specifically articulated to advocate for civics education in classrooms. So following up on the legislation Senator Manning pointed out, making sure that that happens is important. And finally, I think there are lessons from the experience we had with the college savings plan, making it work for people and how it fits into their complicated daily lives. There's lessons that we can draw on the Secretary of State's office.
Thank you, Mr. Curry. We'll start with you for this first question. Where do you stand on implementing ranked choice voting in the state of Oregon?
I love ranked choice voting. I am a huge advocate. Alaska has it and Maine has it. What it does, it allows, right now, we've got a closed primary. So Democrats and Republicans get to vote, but if you're a non-affiliated voter, you don't have any say in who gets to go run in general. You're getting screwed with a ranked choice voting. Everybody would be voting. You rate number one, number two, number three. If your number one doesn't, whoever gets the least votes drops off, and then the number two vote goes to the, they count that. I think it's an awesome system. I love it. I'm going to vote for it, and I hope you will too. Thank you.
Ranked choice voting I'm a member of the Senate Rules Committee. Ranked choice voting came to the Rules Committee, and at that time I told the speaker that I was really concerned about this. I think that there are some elements for ranked choice that will probably hurt minority or people that are not known. It could be the best candidate qualified for a position. However, I voted for that because the bill was going to go to the people. And I voted for it again out of the Senate because it's going to come up on the November ballot. And I figured that Oregonians should make the choice whether or not they're going to accept ranked choice voting. As Secretary of State, it will be my job to implement the people's will.
I think the concept of ranked choice voting is really intriguing, and there are a lot of things to recommend its efficacy. It's not the same as an open primary. So that's a separate question about who is voting. This is a question of how we vote. And the conversations I've had with all these county clerks have revealed some real concerns that they have about the implementation. Each of them, I've been impressed as they articulated those concerns, have followed it after a brief pause with saying, but we'll figure it out. But there are a lot of details that I don't think are in the minds of most people who are thinking about this right now. The technology that county clerks use to print their ballots, the mechanisms that are used to count those ballots, particularly when a given office might span multiple counties. All of those things are going to be essential to have a good plan for. And that's why I think the next Secretary of State needs to be someone with a record of success in implementing complicated policies, turning those concepts into things that work. I've got that record. I'm looking forward to applying it if voters approve this change.
Mr. Stouffer, same question to you.
Again, I have to agree with Mr. Reed. And another basic factor is that people of Oregon are used to the voting system we have now. They're used to the political parties, and as well as the independent voters not belonging to either big party. There are a lot of details that a party and a party candidate can take a position on just because it's the party's position. And I think that the system we have at present has been working for all these years, and I don't think it needs to be changed at this point. Of course, I will defer to the public if they vote to change it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Senator Manning, we'll start with you for this next question. So far, we've heard about what you will continue to support. Please describe what you will discontinue and why, assuming the audited program is deemed a failure. Assuming the audited program is deemed a failure, what you're discontinuing.
That's a interesting question. Without actually conducting an audit, I don't know, what would fail or what wouldn't fail. So I can't get out in front of the bus. Well, I see it coming, but I can't get out in front of the bus and say that I will audit something that's not. Now, there are some particular agencies that I will look at, Oregon Health Authority, ODOT, and the employment department. Because those are some issues that are going on that's hurting a lot of Oregonians. Oregonians that have been out of work and have filed to try to get their unemployment, compensations are months behind. Some are receiving eviction notice. So those are three divisions that I would certainly look at and find out why we're in this point and why you allow Oregonians to hurt.
I think the most interesting part of that question was what it implicates in terms of follow-up. I think it's going to be essential to have an audit plan that is based on real assessment of risk and to not predetermine outcomes. But what I think has real opportunity and untapped potential is the follow-up that goes along with audits. Audits are not the only tool that the Secretary of State has to shine a light on opportunities for improvement. And I think the record that I have of working with legislators to bring about change, to make sure that things are implemented, that are executed, that's where I think the difference can be made to follow up on audits, to make sure that those audits are responded to, and we are continuing to make improvements.
Mr. Stuffer, same question to you.
Well, I've had some experience in auditing, and as an auditor, we find where the problems are, and then the auditor always makes suggestions about how things must be changed. And if the client doesn't change those things, then they get an unfavorable opinion, or they get some exceptions, and that looks bad on their statements. So I think that's a proven audit technique. First, you do a lot of testing to find whether what the people say they're doing is actually being done, and then you talk to them about anything that's an anomaly, and then you tell them how to fix things. Thank you.
Can I ask you for the question again, please?
So far, what we've heard about what you will continue going forward, please describe what you will discontinue and why, assuming the audited program is deemed.
Oh, deemed a failure. Okay, if the audit is deemed a failure, I agree with Mr. Stover. It's not my job to cancel something out, but you would issue an audit that says, hey, these are the problems, you shine the light on it, and you make, this is something that needs to be addressed. But as far as dropping it, I don't see that. I don't see that that's within the realm of the Secretary of State. Suggestions, ideas, yes, absolutely. But it's not within the realm to say this is going to end. So that's what I see.
Thank you. Okay, given time, I'm going to go ahead and transition us to closing statements. You'll each have 60 seconds for your closing statement, and we are going to go in reverse alphabetical order for this. So, Mr. Stoffer, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today and to meet all my worthy opponents. As I said, the main part of the Secretary of State's office that I will focus on is being the chair of the Board of Sustainability. We have a problem with sustainability and environment in Oregon. Well, 2 years ago, it got to be 116 degrees in Portland, and I went outside for 5 minutes on that, and I got nauseous. There were 5 or 6 people that died that day from the heat. We've got to do something, and what has happened so far is that the state government has raised money to solve problems, but they have not solved the problems. We've got 2 hour morning and evening rush hour traffic jams where thousands of cars are exhausting carbon into the air, and it makes it sometimes there are days when they say don't breathe the air, and we've got to address that in the near future. I have 5 environmental inventions that are on my website, Dave Stauffer for Secretary of State. Thank you.
I want to thank you, Paige, and you, Tiffany, and everybody else who has been a part of this. It's always exciting and a pleasure to be able to talk about a race that really matters. I think I want to end where I began, which is the observation that in the 7 years that I've been treasurer, we've had 4 secretaries of state. I think that turnover has really hampered the ability of the office to do the work that Oregonians depend on. And so I'm excited about bringing the lessons that I've learned and the approach that I've developed as your state treasurer to an office that I think needs that kind of stability and professionalism. You don't have to guess what it would be like to have me as a secretary of state or as a statewide elected official. You've got 7+ years of data. And I feel really excited about the things that we can do, the things that we can bring to the Secretary of State's office. I've enjoyed the chance to talk about all those things today. Look forward to continued conversation with all of you and hope to earn your support. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me here for this. Let me conclude with first, I am not a politician. I am a public servant. I know how to serve. My 8 years experience in the legislature and Senate makes me uniquely knowledgeable about the legislative portion. My years of experience in the United States Army as an assistant inspector general, leading soldiers, training, the experience and the acknowledgement that I have makes me more different than any others. I am a leader that knows how to make decisions. I am a person that have learned how to compromise in order to get the best for all Oregonians. I've always said a good idea doesn't care who asks. It's how you embrace it and implement it. As your next Secretary of State, you will be, rest assured that you will be getting someone with leadership experience and knowledge who is public servant.
I'm the only one here. I'm the only one here that's gonna offer you something, and that's empowering you. If this new website comes to being and the voters start asking questions, they're going to be empowered. It's gonna shift power from the candidates who talk in broad platitudes, who won't give you a straight answer, who only want name recognition, who throw mud, to people. You're gonna make your decision not on all that stuff, but on the answers to your questions. You're gonna be a much better voter, and this state's gonna be a much better state because of it. So, politicians ask for money, they ask for your vote. I'm gonna ask for something different. I drove all the way from Ashland for this thing, and I'd like to give everyone here just this little piece of paper that kind of goes through what I said, and it has my phone number. So if you have questions later on, you give me a call. You're not going to get a voicemail, or if you get a voicemail, I'll call you back. I want to end with something that Harry Truman said in 1948 when he was running for president. He said, "I'm not asking for your vote. I'm asking you to vote for yourself." I'm doing the same. Thanks.
All right, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today and making the trip down for those of you who did, and this children's very the line. Can we get around your class? In the back table, there's a printout of each of their candidate statements. I would encourage you to grab one of those. The digital form is also in your email. Thank you to everyone who's a member of City Club joining us today. Your support really matters to our all-volunteer club. You're why we can put on these programs. Huge thank you to Running Rapids for letting us be here for our programming. indefinitely. So we'll be back here next Friday on the 12th. We have a program with Eugene City Club. It's a joint program, and we'll be hosting the Republican CD4 candidate forum. So look forward to seeing you back here. Check your emails for more information on all of our upcoming forums. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.